As we stand at the threshold of a new week, we must understand that moments like this are not ordinary. They are spiritual intersections. Time may call it Monday, but heaven calls it an opportunity. Every new week arrives carrying assignments, decisions, encounters, and doors, some visible, many hidden. The tragedy of many lives is not the absence of opportunities, but the absence of alignment. That is why prayer is not a ritual, it is positioning. Favor is not random kindness. It is when God steps into your ordinary efforts and breathes upon them. It is the hand of God causing results to chase you. It is the reason two people can do the same thing, but one is helped in ways that cannot be explained. When favor comes, resistance weakens, delays bow, systems respond. But favor answers only to divine authorization, not desperation. That is why this week must begin on your knees, not in anxiety. Open doors are not merely opportunities, they are permissions. There are doors no qualification can open, no connection can force, and no effort can break through. Only God holds those keys. And when he opens a door, no system, no voice, no past failure can shut it. This week, we are not asking to struggle harder. We are asking God to go ahead of us. Lift your heart and declare, Father, as I step into this week, I refuse to walk alone. Let your favor speak for me where my voice cannot reach. Let it speak in offices, in meetings, in interviews, in decisions made behind closed doors. Let it announce my name for good. Every door that has been shut due to rejection, misunderstanding, or delay, let mercy revisit them. Where I was overlooked, let remembrance come. Where I was ignored, let attention be restored. Where my efforts were buried, let them be resurrected by your hand. This week I receive discernment. Not every open door is a blessing, and not every closed door is a denial. Teach me to recognize the doors you have ordained, so I do not walk into distractions dressed as opportunities. Order my steps, align my decisions. I declare that cycles of stagnation end now. Patterns of delay break now. The spirit of near success but never arrival loses its hold. I move forward with speed, clarity, and peace. As doors open, give me the grace to walk in humility, integrity, and gratitude. Let favor not destroy my character, and let opportunities not distract me from your presence. This week will testify. I will see help arise. I will see answers come. I will see movement where there was silence. And when it happens, I will return with thanksgiving, knowing it was not my strength, but your favor that made the difference. Understanding a new week as a prophetic doorway requires a shift from seeing time as routine to recognizing time as intentional. A new week is not merely the turning of a calendar page or the repetition of familiar responsibilities. It is a fresh allocation of divine permission. In the realm of the spirit, time is a container, and every container arrives carrying possibilities, instructions, and consequences. When a new week begins, it is heaven signaling that something new can be accessed, something unresolved can be addressed, and something delayed can be reintroduced with fresh authority. Many people step into a new week unconsciously, dragging the weight of the previous one into it. They carry yesterday's disappointments, last week's failures, and old expectations without realizing that a new week has its own voice. A prophetic doorway speaks before it opens. It announces that there is room for change, room for intervention, and room for divine rearrangement. But doors respond to awareness. What you do not discern, you cannot properly enter. This is why prayer at the start of a week is not symbolic. It is strategic. It is the act of standing at the door and acknowledging that you did not create the week, and therefore you must ask the one who did what it contains. A doorway also implies transition. It separates what was from what can be. When a new week is approached prophetically, it becomes a moment disengaged from cycles that have repeated themselves without explanation. Some struggles persist not because they are powerful, but because they are familiar. A new week offers the grace to interrupt those patterns, but only for those who are willing to step through consciously. Without intention, a doorway becomes decoration rather than access. Seeing a new week as prophetic also restores hope without illusion. It does not deny reality, but it invites God into it. It allows a person to say what did not work before does not have the final word. It creates room for divine sequencing, where encounters happen at the right time, conversations align correctly, and decisions are made with clarity rather than pressure. When God is invited into the week, even ordinary moments carry unusual weight. This perspective also demands responsibility. A door can open, but you must walk through it. A week can be loaded with opportunity, but distraction can cause you to miss it. Treating a new week as a prophetic doorway calls for attentiveness, sensitivity, and expectation. It teaches the heart to listen before rushing, to pray before planning, and to align before acting, because once you recognize that the week itself is an invitation, you no longer enter it casually, but with reverence, faith, and deliberate steps toward what has been prepared for you before you even arrived at the door. Favor must be understood beyond the shallow idea of luck or random advantage, because in the spiritual sense, favor is alignment. It is the E of a life positioned correctly before God, where timing, purpose, and obedience intersect. When favor is at work, things do not merely happen, they happen in the right order and with the right weight. It is the invisible hand of God arranging circumstances so that effort is not wasted and progress is not resisted. This is why two people can labor with the same strength, the same intelligence, and the same opportunity, yet one advances while the other struggles. The difference is not always capacity, it is alignment. Divine alignment means that a person's actions, motives, and direction are synchronized with what God is doing at that moment. Favor flows where alignment exists. It does not respond to noise, anxiety, or desperation. It responds to posture. A heart that is yielded, teachable, and sensitive becomes a landing place for favor. When alignment is present, help comes from unexpected places. Decisions tilt in your direction without manipulation, and resistance softens without explanation. This is not coincidence. It is the result of being rightly positioned. Understanding favor as alignment also protects the soul from pride and comparison. If favor were merely luck, it would promote arrogance in those who have it and bitterness in those who do not. But when favor is seen as alignment, it produces humility. It teaches a person to ask not only what do I want, but where should I be standing? Sometimes favor is not delayed because God is unwilling, but because a person is misaligned, pursuing the right thing in the wrong season, or the wrong thing with the right intentions. Real favor corrects direction before it accelerates speed. Favor also has a sustaining nature. Luck is momentary, but alignment is progressive. When God aligns a person, the favor that follows is not fragile. It endures scrutiny, pressure, and time. This is why some doors open and remain open, while others open briefly and collapse. Favor rooted in alignment carries grace for longevity. It is supported by wisdom, character, and discernment, ensuring that what is received can be maintained in a new week. Praying for favor is not a request for shortcuts. It is a cry for alignment. It is asking God to adjust thoughts, refine desires, and order steps so that the week unfolds in harmony with His intentions. When alignment is achieved, struggle reduces, clarity increases, and movement becomes natural. Favor then ceases to be something chased and becomes something that follows, because the life is standing where it ought to be, moving when it should move, and resting when it should wait. And this is the true power of favor as divine alignment. Rather than mere luck, open doors must be understood as access points ordained by God, not achievements forced by human strength. Many people assume that effort alone guarantees entry, but in the realm of destiny, access is regulated. There are spaces you cannot enter simply because you are talented, qualified, or persistent. These spaces respond to authorization. When God opens a door, He is granting permission to step into a realm of influence, opportunity, or transition that would otherwise remain inaccessible. This understanding removes the pressure to compete anxiously and replaces it with the discipline of alignment and trust. An ordained door carries a certain ease that cannot be replicated by striving. This does not mean the absence of responsibility or diligence, but it means resistance is not hostile. When a door is opened by God, the systems behind that door cooperate rather than oppose. Conversations flow differently. Decisions lean in your favor. People become willing helpers without being persuaded. This is because the door was not broken open, it was unlocked. What is unlocked welcomes you. What is forced resists you even after you enter. Human strength can create openings, but it cannot guarantee peace, sustainability, or divine backing. Many people enter doors they fought for only to discover that maintaining access costs more than entering it. Ordained doors come with grace for endurance. They provide not just entry, but staying power. This is why discernment is critical. Not every opportunity is a door from God, and not every closed door is an enemy. Some closures are protections, and some delays are mercies. Understanding open doors as divine access points also changes how rejection is interpreted. Rejection no longer defines worth, it reveals direction. When a door refuses to open despite sincere effort and prayer, it may be an indication that permission has not yet been granted. Forcing such doors often leads to compromise, exhaustion, or loss of peace. Trusting God's timing keeps the heart whole and the vision intact. When God opens a door, it often happens suddenly, but it is rarely accidental. It may feel unexpected, yet it is usually the result of unseen preparation. God works behind the scenes, aligning people, moments, and decisions long before the door becomes visible. This is why prayer precedes manifestation. Prayer does not convince God to open doors, it aligns the believer with doors that are already scheduled to open. In a new week, praying for open doors is not asking for random opportunities. It is a request for divine authorization. It is saying, let me only walk where you have granted access. This prayer produces peace even before results appear, because the heart knows that what opens will be safe, timely, and purposeful. When God opens a door, you do not have to explain yourself, rush to prove your worth, or fear being removed, because the same authority that opened the door sustains your place within it. And this confidence allows you to walk forward, not with arrogance, but with quiet assurance that you are exactly where you are meant to be at this time. Prayer plays a central role in positioning the heart before opportunities appear, because opportunities respond first to posture before they respond to presence. Many people assume that doors open because they arrive at the right place, but in spiritual reality, doors open because the heart is correctly aligned long before the moment of arrival. Prayer is the process through which the inner world is arranged to handle the outer world. It does not merely ask for change, it prepares the vessel that will receive the change. When prayer is absent, opportunities can still appear, but they often overwhelm, confuse, or corrupt. This is because the heart was not prepared to interpret or steward what arrived. Prayer slows the soul down enough to remove impatience, entitlement, and fear. It allows motives to be purified so that when an opportunity shows up, it is not approached with desperation or pride. A positioned heart recognizes opportunity not as a threat or a shortcut, but as a responsibility that requires wisdom and restraint. Prayer also trains sensitivity. Many opportunities do not announce themselves loudly. They arrive subtly, disguised as conversations, instructions, or inconveniences. A praying heart learns to discern weight in ordinary moments. Through prayer, the heart becomes attentive to timing, learning when to speak, when to wait, and when to move. This sensitivity prevents missed moments and protects against premature action. Without prayer, a person may see the door but misjudge the moment, stepping in too early or too late. Another vital role of prayer is that it deals with internal resistance before external resistance appears. Fear, insecurity, and past disappointments often sabotage opportunities before they are even fully breathed. Prayer exposes these hidden limitations and brings them under submission. When the heart is healed and assured in prayer, it does not retreat when opportunity demands courage, nor does it panic when responsibility increases. It stands steady because the battle was already fought in this secret place. Prayer also positions the heart to recognize divine help. Many opportunities come attached to people, but pride or independence can cause a person to reject assistance. Prayer humbles the heart and makes it teachable. It allows one to receive guidance, correction, and partnership without suspicion or defensiveness. This humility attracts help and sustains favor. In the context of a new week, prayer is not about listing demands. It is about alignment. It is a quiet submission that says, prepare me before you promote me. When the heart is positioned through prayer, opportunities do not become burdens. They become assignments handled with clarity and peace. This is why those who pray may not always move first, but when they move accurately. The heart that has been positioned does not chase every opening. It waits for the right one. And when it appears, there is a deep inner witness that this moment is not random, not forced, and not beyond capacity, because prayer has already shaped the heart to carry what is about to unfold with wisdom, discipline, and quiet confidence. Spiritual resistance often remains misunderstood because many assume it always appears as obvious opposition. Yet its most effective form is subtle. It shows up as pride disguised as confidence, impatience masked as ambition, and disobedience justified as independence. Removing spiritual resistance begins with humility, because humility is the posture that grants God access to intervene. Where humility is absent, grace is restricted. A person may be gifted, sincere, and hardworking, yet still experience repeated obstruction simply because the heart has become unyielded in certain areas. Humility is not self-degradation. It is accurate self-awareness. It is the recognition that strength has limits and wisdom has a source beyond oneself. When a person walks in humility, they remain teachable, correctable, and sensitive. This posture dismantles resistance because it aligns the heart with divine authority. God does not contend with the humble. He guides them. Many delays live not because effort increased, but because the heart softened enough for instruction to be received. Obedience works alongside humility as a key remover of resistance. Obedience is often tested in small, uncomfortable instructions rather than dramatic commands. It may involve waiting when momentum is desired, speaking when silence feels safe, or releasing something that feels secure. Resistance often intensifies at the point where obedience is required, because obedience confronts control, yet every act of obedience clears unseen blockages. What looks insignificant in the natural can unlock movement in the spiritual. There are seasons where prayer seems consistent, effort remains strong, yet progress stalls. In many such moments, the issue is not spiritual warfare, but spiritual alignment. God may be waiting for a realignment of priorities, relationships, or motives. Obedience is the language that communicates readiness. It says, I trust your wisdom above my preferences. This trust dismantles resistance that no amount of fasting or striving can remove. Humility and obedience also protect against self-sabotage. When doors begin to open, pride can cause a person to rush ahead of instruction, while disobedience can lead to compromise to sustain access. Both create new forms of resistance that appear later as loss of peace, confusion, or instability. A humble and obedient heart remains anchored, allowing favor to increase without corruption. As a new week begins, removing spiritual resistance is less about confronting external forces and more about surrendering internal ones. It is asking God to reveal areas of stubbornness, hidden pride, or delayed obedience. When these are addressed, movement often resumes naturally. Resistance lives not because the enemy was defeated, but because alignment was restored. This is the quiet power of humility and obedience. They do not make noise, but they create space for God to move unhindered, allowing progress to flow without strain. Clarity to replace confusion, and peace to guard the heart even as responsibilities increase. Because when the heart yields fully, resistance loses its legal ground to remain, and the path ahead becomes clear enough to walk forward with confidence and calm assurance. Divine timing is one of the most misunderstood aspects of spiritual progress, especially when doors seem to open suddenly after long periods of waiting. Many interpret sudden openings as accidents or luck, but in reality, they are the result of precise coordination. God's timing is not random, it is exact. What appears sudden to the human eye has often been prepared quietly over time. Delays are not always denials. They are often seasons of alignment where conditions are being arranged beyond what is visible. Sudden doors open when multiple factors converge at the right moment. There is personal readiness and environmental readiness and divine permission. If any of these are missing, the door remains closed regardless of effort. Personal readiness involves character, wisdom, and emotional capacity. Without these, a door opening too early would damage the person rather than bless them. Environmental readiness includes people, systems, and circumstances being positioned to support what is about to unfold. Divine permission is the final authority that releases access. When all three align, movement can happen rapidly without resistance. This is why waiting seasons often feel silent. God is not idle during these periods. He is working beneath the surface. He may be adjusting relationships, closing other doors, or teaching lessons that cannot be learned in motion. Waiting refines perception and strengthens discernment. It also exposes impatience and helps redefine expectations. A person who learns to wait well is not passive. They are attentive, prepared, and anchored. When the moment comes, they move decisively because they are not confused by haste. Sudden openings also serve as reminders that control was never in human hands. They humble the heart by revealing how quickly circumstances can change when God speaks. One conversation, one decision, or one moment of favor can undo years of stagnation. This does not make effort irrelevant, but it places effort in its proper context. Preparation matters, but timing governs release. Understanding divine timing protects the heart from envy and discouragement. When someone else's door opens quickly, it does not mean you are late. It means their season has arrived. Comparing timelines creates unnecessary pressure and can lead to forcing doors prematurely. Trusting divine timing allows peace to remain even when progress seems slow. In a new week, recognizing divine timing shifts prayer from demanding immediate results to seeking discernment. It becomes less about asking God to hurry and more about asking Him to prepare the heart to recognize the moment when it arrives. Sudden doors often open when the heart has stopped striving and started trusting. They come when obedience has been consistent, humility has been formed, and patience has matured. When the time is right, movement feels natural rather than chaotic. There is clarity instead of confusion and peace instead of fear. The door opens not because pressure increased, but because timing aligned. What once resisted now welcomes. What once delayed now accelerates. This is the beauty of divine timing. It ensures that when doors open suddenly, the person entering is not overwhelmed, the opportunity is not wasted, and the season unfolds with stability rather than shock, proving that waiting was not a loss but a necessary preparation for a moment that required readiness on every level. Favor is often celebrated for the access it grants, but its deeper purpose is revealed in the responsibility it demands. True favor is never an escape from accountability. It is an invitation to higher stewardship. When God releases favor, He is not merely making life easier. He is entrusting influence, resources, or visibility that must be handled with wisdom. This is why favor tests character more than adversity does. Pressure reveals strength, but favor reveals intentions. Many misunderstand favor as divine preference without obligation, yet every measure of favor comes with expectations. When doors open quickly and help appears unexpectedly, the weight of responsibility increases. Decisions matter more, words carry greater consequence, and actions affect more lives. Favor expands reach, and expanded reach magnifies impact, whether positive or negative. This is why some people lose what they receive quickly, not because favor ended, but because responsibility was neglected. There is a direct connection between how favor is handled and how long it remains active. Favor is sustained by humility, integrity, and reverence for the source from which it came. The moment a person begins to believe that access was earned solely by effort, wisdom, or skill, favor begins to withdraw quietly. Pride does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it appears as self-sufficiency. Responsibility requires continual acknowledgement that favor is a trust, not a trophy. Responsibility also includes discernment. Not every request should be accepted simply because favor has increased capacity. Learning to say no becomes as important as learning to say yes. Favor without boundaries leads to exhaustion and compromise. God expects those walking in favor to protect their assignments by prioritizing correctly. This means managing time wisely, guarding relationships, and staying aligned with purpose rather than popularity. Another dimension of responsibility is faithfulness in the small things that follow big breakthroughs. Favor may introduce a person to rooms they never imagined, but consistency keeps them there. Showing up prepared, remaining teachable, and honoring processes become non-negotiable. Favor opens doors, but responsibility builds credibility within those doors. Without credibility, access becomes temporary. In a new week, praying for favor must also include a willingness to grow in responsibility. It is asking God not only to open doors, but to strengthen the inner capacity to steward what comes. This prayer shifts the heart from entitlement to stewardship. It recognizes that with every blessing comes an assignment, and with every open door comes a call to represent God well. When favor and responsibility walk together, progress becomes sustainable. Growth does not destroy balance, and success does not compromise character. The person remains grounded even as influence increases. This alignment ensures that favor does not become a burden or a downfall, but a channel through which purpose is fulfilled faithfully. Understanding this connection transforms favor from something merely desired into something honored, protected, and managed with reverence, allowing it to remain active across seasons without regret, loss, or unnecessary pain, because responsibility is the structure that allows favor to stand without collapsing under its own weight. Breaking cycles of delay, rejection, and stagnation requires recognizing that patterns do not repeat accidentally. When a season produces the same outcome again and again, despite effort, sincerity, and prayer, it often indicates an unseen structure sustaining the cycle. These patterns can form through prolonged disappointment, internalized fear, misalignment, or unaddressed lessons. Over time, what begins as an external delay can become an internal expectation, and the heart quietly adjusts itself to anticipate limitation rather than breakthrough. Delay becomes a cycle when waiting turns into resignation. Rejection becomes a cycle when it reshapes identity instead of refining direction. Stagnation becomes a cycle when movement is attempted without clarity or obedience. These conditions feed each other. Delay weakens confidence, rejection distorts self-perception, and stagnation drains motivation. Breaking the cycle begins not with striving harder, but with confronting the belief systems formed during prolonged resistance. Prayer plays a critical role here, not only as a request for change, but as a tool for exposure. In prayer, God reveals where cycles began and why they were allowed to continue. Some cycles persist because they are teaching discernment, patience, or dependence. Others persist because there has been partial obedience or misplaced loyalty to comfort zones. When these roots are identified, the cycle loses its authority. What is exposed can be corrected. Another key to breaking cycles is intentional obedience. Cycles are sustained by repeated responses. When the response changes, the cycle breaks. This may require doing something uncomfortable, such as releasing relationships, adjusting priorities, or embracing new methods. Obedience interrupts familiarity. It forces movement in a new direction, even when emotion resists. The moment obedience is activated, momentum begins to shift. Breaking cycles also demands renewed identity. Rejection loses power when it is interpreted correctly. It is not always a verdict on worth, but often a redirection toward alignment. When identity is anchored in God rather than outcomes, rejection cannot define the future. This clarity restores courage and reduces fear of repetition. A person who no longer fears rejection moves with freedom and accuracy. In a new week, cycles can be confronted with intentional declarations and actions, speaking truth over patterns, refusing to accept stagnation as normal, and aligning daily decisions with faith creates disruption. This is not denial of reality, but refusal to surrender to it. Consistent alignment produces gradual release and sometimes sudden change. When cycles break, movement feels unfamiliar at first. Progress may come with responsibility, exposure, or pressure. This can tempt a person to retreat to familiar limitations, but persistence is critical. The breaking of a cycle is not complete until a new pattern is established. As delay lifts, patience is replaced with purpose. As rejection loses its grip, confidence stabilizes. As stagnation ends, clarity returns. W. At once repeated without explanation gives way to forward motion guided by wisdom. This is the power of confronting cycles intentionally rather than enduring them passively. When alignment, obedience, and identity converge, cycles lose their ability to reset, and life begins to move in a new direction, marked not by repetition or frustration, but by progression into seasons that reflect growth, maturity, and divine intention, unfolding steadily and with increasing consistency. When doors open, discernment becomes more important than excitement, because access without understanding can lead to costly mistakes. Not every open door is meant to be entered immediately, and not every opportunity that looks promising aligns with divine purpose. Discernment is the ability to perceive the true nature, timing, and consequence of an open door beyond its appearance. It is what protects a person from mistaking visibility for validation or speed for approval. An open door often brings increased options, voices, and pressure. Without discernment, a person may feel compelled to say yes to everything out of fear that the door might close. This fear-driven response leads to exhaustion and compromise. Discernment introduces peace into decision-making. It allows a person to evaluate opportunities without panic, understanding that what God opens will not require reckless haste to sustain. When a door is truly ordained, it remains open long enough for clarity to confirm direction. Discernment also reveals the cost attached to a door. Every opportunity demands something in return, whether time, energy, focus, or character. Some doors require sacrifices that are not immediately visible. Discernment helps the heart count the cost honestly. It asks important questions internally, such as whether the opportunity aligns with current capacity, whether it pulls the heart away from purpose, and where it strengthens or weakens spiritual integrity. Entering a door without considering its cost often results in regret rather than fulfillment. Another critical aspect of discernment is recognizing the season. A door may be genuine but mistimed. Entering too early can create unnecessary struggle, while entering too late can result in missed potential. Discernment is sensitive to timing. It recognizes when preparation is still required and when movement is necessary. This sensitivity prevents frustration and preserves strength. Discernment also governs how one behaves after entering a door. Access does not eliminate the need for wisdom. New environments require new understanding. Discernment helps a person observe before speaking, learn before leading, and adapt without losing identity. It guards against arrogance and insecurity, both of which can damage credibility. A discerning heart remains humble and alert, aware that open doors are invitations to serve, not stages to perform. In a new week, praying for open doors must be matched with praying for discernment to walk wisely within them. This prayer shifts focus from expansion to accuracy. It values depth over speed and purpose over applause. Discernment ensures that progress does not come at the expense of peace or alignment. When discernment guides movement, doors become pathways rather than traps. Opportunities produce growth instead of strain. Confidence replaces confusion because decisions are made with inner assurance rather than external pressure. This ability to see clearly when doors open is what allows favor to mature into fruitfulness. It ensures that access leads to advancement, not distraction, and that the journey through the door strengthens character rather than fractures it, allowing the season that follows to be marked by stability, wisdom, and quiet effectiveness rather than regret or unnecessary struggle. Sustaining favor requires intentional stewardship, because favor that is not guarded can rapidly diminish even while activity increases. Many people focus on receiving favor but give little attention to maintaining it. Gratitude is the first stabilizer of favor. It keeps the heart aware of the source of its progress. Gratitude is not merely spoken appreciation, it is a posture that resists entitlement. When a person remains grateful, they remain humble, and humility preserves access. The moment gratitude fades, familiarity replaces reverence, and favor begins to lose its covering. Integrity is another essential anchor. Favor exposes a person to opportunities where shortcuts become tempting and compromises feel justified. Integrity ensures that success does not outpace character. It governs decisions when no one is watching and maintains consistency between private life and public actions. Without integrity, favor attracts attention but lacks credibility. Over time, cracks form, trust erodes, and what was gained quickly becomes difficult to sustain. Integrity may not accelerate favor, but it protects it from collapse. Alignment completes the structure that sustains favor. Alignment means remaining sensitive to direction, season, and assignment. As favor increases, distractions multiply. New options, voices, and expectations compete for attention. Alignment helps a person remain focused on what they were called to do rather than what they are now able to do. Not every opportunity unlocked by favor is meant to be pursued. Alignment filters choices, ensuring that growth remains purposeful rather than scattered. Gratitude, integrity, and alignment work together. Gratitude keeps the heart soft, integrity keeps the foundation strong, and alignment keeps direction clear. Removing any one of these creates imbalance. Gratitude without integrity produces CES, hypocrisy. Integrity without alignment produces burnout. Alignment without gratitude produces pride. Sustained favor requires all three operating consistently. In practical terms, sustaining favor often means slowing down internally even when life speeds up externally. It requires regular self-examination, prayerful reflection, and the courage to correct course when necessary. It also involves honoring people, processes, and principles that contributed to progress. Dishonoring past helpers, mentors, or systems is a subtle way favor leaks away. In a new week, asking for favor should be matched with a commitment to steward it well. This means choosing honesty when compromise seems beneficial, choosing patience when expansion seems urgent, and choosing obedience when independence feels attractive. Sustained favor is not dramatic, it is steady. It does not rely on constant breakthroughs to validate its presence. It is evident in consistency, peace, and continued relevance. When favor is sustained properly, it outlives seasons. It remains active even when environments change. It adapts without losing essence. People trust it, systems respect it, and doors continue to respond to it. This kind of favor does not exhaust the soul or inflate the ego. It strengthens purpose while preserving character. It allows a person to grow without losing